I want to thank you for the kind words and for Ray it's funny when I come on to a call like this. Sometimes I'm just listening and you guys nail me. Today, of course, I was listening and you nailed me a couple days ago. But I committed to come on because I really there's a lot of things to talk about, and you can say a lot, but if it falls on deaf ears, there are none so blind as those who will not see. You've heard that saying, and we have many people that are that way in this world. And so we're working with a numbers game, and I think the other day it was Marianne that was saying that she remembers something I said about recruiting and getting new distributors, and this is saying I've said for a long time, and think about this for a second. Some will, some won't. So what? Who's next? And that's the attitude you should have, because understand that most of the people you talk to about a product or about a business opportunity will not want to do it. That doesn't mean there's anything wrong with what we have, and I think with you here, you'd all be convinced that what we have is really right and sensational, but they can't see it, and they're letting other things cloud their vision with what's there. So your business, in building your business, is to create change and facilitate success of your distributors. So the thing you've got to do is get those distributors to realize that unless they do something different than what they are doing, they're in a state of perhaps they think they're treading water and moving along okay and content with their lifestyle, but there'll be a time it'll be like sliding something across the top of a table and then it goes over the edge. That's what's going to happen to most people. About over 95% of all the population, at least here in the United States, according to statistics, retire at or below the poverty level. And what does that mean? It means you spent your whole life working for somebody else's future is what it means. And it means you sold yourself out. Because what you did, and I don't mean that in a negative way, I mean it in a thought-provoking way. Because you sold yourself out because you didn't realize when you trade your time for dollars, you're working for somebody else's future, not yours. And the way that other companies make their money is that they trade their time for other people's time who get it done, and that is the Walmart story, or any big organization that's there. If you went to Microsoft or IBM or any of those, there's one president at the top. That's there. There's a board maybe, and president, CEO, president, and then there's vice presidents, and then from there managers, regional managers, and see, it triangularly shapes downward. So if somebody says this is a pyramid, you can tell them, so is almost all business unless you're a one-man band. All business is in a triangular shape because that's the way that it has to work with it, and to be efficient, because you don't want to work 10 hours and get paid $10 an hour, for example. That's $100. Then that's what you've done. You've been paid for what you did. But if you take that 10 hours, whether it be over a week or two, whatever it is, and if you put it into recruiting other people and getting other people's time, now what you're going to do is now you have people that will start to work. And if you show them that they must create change or they're going to be vulnerable to what happens to almost everyone, you're not going to get lucky. Publisher Clearinghouse is not going to call you until you have a lifetime income. You're going to get to the point of where now you're expendable. Your company doesn't need you any longer. You're too old. Or things happen with the company. It's bad judgment on the company's part, and they collapse. And you see, where's Kodak today? At one time, Kodak had all the film, but technology's changed, and they're gone with that. And that's just one example of many with what it is. So here you are, and I'm glad everyone that's on the phone, I think most of you are distributors there, you have the vision. But your idea of having the vision, yes, you should do some fundamentals. Number one is be your own best customer. and do not do your minimum. You ought to write this down, that you're not going to do your minimum to qualify. You're going to use all the products that we carry that you're already using and replace the ones that you're buying somewhere else. You see, people get motivated with some products, and this is the way that many big companies came and went. If you look at, and I can use some recent examples with there, I talked the other day, look at Monavie. They had an acai berry. They were $1 billion company. Just everyone was raving about them, and where are they now? They're out of business. How about Zango? I remember when Zango was raging on mangosteen juice, and where are they now? They're $1 billion company. Now they're nothing. They're gone with that kind of thing. And the list goes on and on. I know a big company, and I'm making a point on this. I know a large company that, and these companies that are collapsing are binaries, because binaries really can't last, because pretty soon it's almost like liberalism or socialism. Pretty soon they run out of other people's money to spend. And that's what a binary is. The binary is one of the big evils that's come into this, but the concept is, oh, you only have to get one person and build a second leg. We give you a leg. But that kind of thing, it sounds good, but doesn't make sense, because this is a numbers game. If you get one that got two, each one of them got two, look where your multiples are. But do it in fives and see where you're at. And that's the power of this business, because not only do we play the game, if you call it a game, this is life's game, and an important one, but we play the game of trading time for dollars, but then we don't do it with arithmetic, just plain old addition and subtraction. We do it with multiplication. And that's why multi-level marketing has such power, because you can multiply your income from you working with a person. Just like DW said today, they increased their volume in his organization this year by $300,000. Well, and it ain't over. We're only half over for the year. So, yeah, that's pretty impressive. But DW didn't do that. Bacini's didn't do that. Yes, they were an important part of it because their leadership, but the people and generally throughout the company are the ones that are really doing it, because you're limited by your time. So if you just simply recruited and put all the distributors first level to you wouldn't have much with it. I know a person once that recruited 130 some first level distributors, and they quit. They said they can't make it in this business. It doesn't work for them. Well, they had 130 first level people, but how about if they had arranged those in multiplication and had each one benefiting on the efforts of others that are underneath them? Then that's a strong motivation for them to get more and to do more, and that's what's happening in DW's downline. The leadership is what you should be doing. You should be creating change. You need to get the people to change what they're doing so they can have what they don't have. And that's the important thing. Once you do that, then you have to facilitate their success. This is not a love them and leave them business. This is a business that you get what you want. And the beautiful thing about it is you don't do it at competition with others. You do it by helping other people to get what they want. This is a serious win-win situation. So we've got everything right there. And this big company that I was talking about a little bit earlier, I just heard yesterday that they had their annual convention. Well, in just a couple of years, their attendance was 20-some thousand, I believe, 2 years ago. Last year it was 12,000. This year it's 4,000. And yet they're a very big company. You would know the name, but what's happened to the company? Well, it's shrinking because they're a binary to start with, and they're running out of new people to come in because the people at the bottom are not making money. They can't find the people to come in, and they don't have upline success. Uplines are simply motivating them by saying, look how much money I've made. You get in, you can do it. This is a hands-on business. You should be willing to work many levels deep to help somebody. But it's not just pontificating. It's the matter of getting in and doing tangible things to help people. Because you need to understand, it's just like raising children. When you have a child, they don't know a lot of the things that you know, that you train them on how to do, and their skill levels improve. If you didn't, as we see in society today, probably the biggest factor for the deterioration of our society in America and in the world, in my opinion, and that of many others, I can tell you, is the deterioration of the family. And when you have single parent families, that is very difficult because the burden on the parent is so great. And they can't be the father and the mother to them and earn the living and do all those other things. So children are not directed, they're not guided, they don't have role models necessarily in many cases. Now, certainly they do, and thank God for mothers, because they're the ones that make things possible. But fathers steer the course and show the strength and reinforcement and setting goals, just as mothers do. And so together, one and one becomes very successful in a marriage. But when it's only one, the burden doubles on them, and the children don't get the things that they need, and so they grow up in a helter-skelter fashion. And they don't know how to go after. Look at the millennial generation with what's going on right now. There's a great potential there, but because of largely parenting and our society and two incomes and all those things, they've not learned what really needs to be done, and they have to go through a lot of experience to find it. But they have more resources, and if you talk to the millennials, and think about this, we need to get millennials in the company because they can be the big growth factor for us. You just have to learn how to work and realize they haven't had the same guidance and support that many of us has had that have grown up in a different type of society, a more family-oriented one. So you've got to intervene and show them and create the change, and then help them to facilitate their success. And if you do, it's a tremendous market out there with them, and we're getting a number of them coming in, and the ones whose eyes are open and seeing to do it are really doing well. And it's almost like coming out of the darkness into the light, and they say, wow, and away they go. So there's resources out there to do. And so if you don't know how to deal with a millennial, guess how you do it? You learn how to do it. And it's not that difficult. It's just like Generation X or Y or the baby boomers or all those things. Every generation has its own particular nuances. And so you work with those factors that are there for them. If you're 25 or 30 years old, what are you looking for? If you're 60 years old, what are you looking for? It's quite different between the two with it. But the difference from 30 to 60 is your productive years. And if you worked a job, just over broke job, then where are you going to be at retirement? You're going to be driving that new car you bought 20 years ago for the rest of your life. And that you see that all over the highways. You see these older couples in a car that's in very good condition, but it's 20 or 30 years old because they retired out of below the poverty level and they can't afford anything different. But with this one, I don't care how old you are. I mean, you could be as old as DW and you can still get a car from the company. We'll give you a car. All you have to do is just simply do what needs to be done, and you can have what you want. You can have what others don't because they won't. So this big company that I talked about with the low attendance now at their convention is starting to really tremble, and I think they'll be going down very quickly with what we see. But they came to us. They don't make their own products. And they came to us and they wanted us to, they had a weight loss, meal replacement, like our Sisel in purpose, but not like it in chemistry. And they came in and said, our product isn't working very well, the one we have, and we'd like you to, because we do private label business at Supra, but trust me, your Sisel products are safe. We do it on other technologies. A lot of people want what we have. We tell them, number one, let's not even talk about it because you can't afford it. these products cost too much, and the way that you market, you can't afford to pay that much. We do make it, so we have that profit. We are debt-free, so we have that profit, and therefore we can invest a lot more in products than you can afford to buy. But with our company, we come out about a push with where you'd be if you bought them somewhere else. But you have products that are not mediocre or really non-functional. You have products that are enormously successful. So out of that, this company came in, and so our lab went to work, and we know quite a bit about things in weight loss or other. And so they put, this isn't my work, but I'm president, of course, and owner with my son, Tom Jr. But so I was sort of involved with what they were doing, and they were a considerable account. So we went to quite a bit of work, and they had a research and development director. While they're not a manufacturer, they would go and see about quality control. And he came to our plant for a number of times. We worked with the product. We gave it to him. He was just right on the way to the moon. He was so excited about what the formulation we had done and how vastly superior it was to what he was selling, which happened to be soy-based, which we would never do that. But anyway, so we went back and talked to the management. They tested it. Oh, they all loved it. And then we come together, and we told him what it would cost to do it. He was fine with it. He took it back. He says, we'll get the approval. Well, he didn't get the approval. And he came back and he told us, they said, no, we're going to stick with the formulation we got. This one's too expensive. Does that shock you? That absolutely shocked me. Here you find something, they're unhappy with their formulation, and we would private label them a different formulation, of course, than ours, but one that was way superior to what they had that would work. And they need it, and they wanted it, but they won't take it because it costs too much. So we'll stick with our own old formula that doesn't work well. Now, do you understand why they're collapsing like the others are? Because the products can't stand on its own merit. Noni juice, it became a big company. Noni's juice, I say, is slightly better than nothing. I made Noni juice for my other company because I had to do it to compete with what they're doing. And my Noni juice was better than their Noni juice, and both of them, I don't even carry Noni juice. I only did it to compete, but I had a better way of Noni. But if you bought Noni, yeah, that was because the market was there, and we're doing it for the distributor force. But once the bloom was off the rose, we dropped Noni because you get nothing from nothing, so to speak. There's a mild effect, but it is so insignificant. And then acai berry, it's an antioxidant. And they're telling you all these great things that it, antioxidants have power, but there's a lot of difference in power. It's all based on, like vitamin C, it has antioxidant power of 1. So if something has an antioxidant power of 10, that means it's 10 times as powerful as vitamin C with it. Well, you take a look at a product like acai, and it's probably, I don't remember exactly, 15 or 18. So 15, 18 times better than vitamin C, but antioxidants are more broad spectrum, so I don't want to get into all that because I'm going to lead you into a couple of other things here real quick. But I'm trying to show you that one of the important things in selling is find a need, okay? How many people want to make more money? How many people want to lose weight? How many people don't want to grow older? How many people want to regenerate their health? How many people want energy? How many people want to improve their brain and keep it from deteriorating, and eyes and heart and everything else? Well, we got all those answers, and the answers are here. But with when it comes to antioxidants, we've got antioxidant power of 500 and 600 in some of our ingredients, but we don't have a one ingredient antioxidant like these others do, because there's 2,000 groups of free radicals. Those are oxidizers that antioxidants neutralize, and an antioxidant will work in one group but not in another. So here we have SpectraMax with about 40 of them in, and some of these have that huge antioxidant power that just seems like it's right off the charts. And that's SpectraMax. So I use that as an illustration with what we're doing. Now, the last point I'm going to do is I'm going to talk to you about, we just had an FDA audit that came in here. Now, understand it's not like an IRS audit, although the personalities are the same, and you have people that are looking, when you deal with bureaucrats in government, they're not looking to help you. They're looking to find ways to actually, to make you conform, of course, but the other thing is they have an attitude, this is my opinion, they're very negative and very hateful for people in the private enterprise. These are government workers, and they love the power of being able to control. And so when you have a plant like we do, and regulations have changed a lot, we meet, you've heard of GMP, Good Manufacturing Practices. Well, our classification is higher than that. It's CGMP. That means current. That puts us right next to pharmaceuticals in their manufacturing. But the problem is that the FDA comes in now, and they're trying to, remember they tried to crush dietary supplements in 1994 and have them so they could all be classified as drugs, only sold from an authorized place that could sell either prescription drugs or OTC drugs if you could go through that process. And that meant that Big Pharma would dominate the dietary supplement and the prescription drug. Why did Big Pharma want to do that? Because these products work. They know they work if you have the proper doses in them, but they resent people staying healthy. Why do they? Because it's bad for their business. And the business of their business is not helping people with health care. That is what the products are supposed to do, and that's what the products do in some cases, but the driving factor is how much profit can we make at it. And it doesn't matter how bad they gouge us or gouge the insurance company, and the side effects from the products they make, they're out for money, and that's it. Well, you're out for money too in this business. There's nothing wrong with that if you do it right. It's the love of money is the problem, not money itself. You can do a lot of good with money, but without money, there's a lot of hurt and things that come. So money is a good thing if you use it right, and we've got it where it pays out right, pays out really good, and you get all that. So the FDA came in and audited us and went through, they go through procedures, and they're trying to slowly, and not so slowly, evolve the dietary supplement business where they can regulate them just like they do with pharmaceuticals, which adds tremendously to the cost of doing business. And thank goodness we got Trump, who's there. And I'm an independent. I'm not a Republican. I'm an independent. But I can tell you one thing about it. He is for reducing prescription drugs. You know that. You hear that right now. But the other thing, he's really for dietary supplements and having people be able to use these healthy products that are God-given. And I believe, especially when the election is over, he's going to put a big effort into this. Now, this is just my opinion, of course, but he's going to do that to help us so that we have the right to know, choose, and use products that are good for us. Not products that are suppressed because Big Pharma, but that are good for us. So anyway, here's my point that I'm coming to, and I got the Mower hour, so I still got about a half an hour of it to put some more meat on the bones. But here's the thing they said to us, and they go through and they're trying to get us to do everything they can, and many of the things legally they have rights to do, and some of them they develop their own regulations, and some of them they do things, they demand things that really they don't have the authority, but they have the intimidation factor, and so they get companies to comply with it because it's like the IRS. I mean, it's just crushing, overpowering. Well, I mean, we have attorneys. We know how to handle some of these things, but they're getting much worse. But here we are. We're ready to fight that fight. We will stand up for what we believe and try and do the right thing. So they came in and they gave us an audit, and they said, well, you have a procedure here that you're not following and in doing this, and a system here that you need to have records on. Well, all of those things, many of them anyway, are ones that with dietary supplements, when I started this business, there'd been rioting in the streets if they'd implemented them. But that's how it is. It's like creeping paralysis. They just get bigger and bigger and worse. And but you have to live in the real world. So that's what we're fighting and working with both. And so we're going to do everything we can to give you the products that are the products you dream of, that you think are out there somewhere. You just can't get your hands on them. And the reason is the products aren't being made, except, in my opinion, through Sisel, because other companies won't use them. Too expensive to use them in the levels that work. Or they'll use one and they need maybe 10 or 15 to make the formulation maximize its effectiveness. We do all those things. So we're always on the hunt. And some of the things like what DW and Ray was talking about today, or this morning on this, was that, we're making good and great new discoveries. So here's what the FDA said to us about the one thing that I wanted to pass on. They come in and they said, they looked at the age pill, and they said, why did you change the formulation of the age pill? And we changed it 4 times. And we said, well, because we thought we had better ingredients. Well, you need to justify why you change the formulation, and we need to know why you did it. Well, actually, I don't think they do need to know that. I think that's an overextension of their power, and they're abusing it. But they wanted us to know in writing why we changed that and put it out to them. Now, that's a slippery slope and dangerous one to be on, because you know what? Our ingredients are based upon real science, powerful science. And if we say, okay, here's the studies that show this, and this is why we've increased the amount of this product. One of them is we did increase one quite a bit because we found a study that showed the optimal effect of it. But then what they want to do is grab you and say, aha, you're making a drug claim because the ingredient's been tested as a natural medicine. Sure. And but it's not a prescription drug. But because of that and the claims it make, it's not what you put in a product, it's what you say it does. So they're trying to get us, I believe, in the trick bag of where we'll tell them, they say, well, we found this because this will stimulate this, that will stimulate that, and they'll go out of their gourd with rage because we have improved our product based upon what we found in science. Well, that's what the SHEA's about. It's the Dietary Supplemental Health Education Act, and they determined in 1994, when Big Pharma was trying to crush this industry, crush you for it, that they brought this law out so that you could use the studies and show the studies of the ingredients. You just couldn't say your product did it because your formulation would be different, and so therefore it didn't meet the criteria of the study. But if you use that amount in your product, then you could educate yourself and make the conclusion of whether or not the product was a merit for you to use. And so with that, I mean, we're running with it. Other companies are not. They're putting in minuscule amounts. A lot of them put in less than 1 part per million, and they call that undetectable amounts in lab analysis. You can detect it, but if you put 1 part per million, you can put it on the label. And companies that are doing that are very low dose. I look at a couple of products that are out there to increase NAD, and they have a precursor to do that. It means it leads to it. And they're 100, 150 milligrams. Well, good night. If you look at the charts from all the studies, 1,000 is where you really want to be. So if they're down at the bottom, 100, 150, what do you get? Mediocre results. If you're at the top, all you've done is greatly increase it. You get maximum effects with it. And then if you add other things to it, it's like throwing gasoline on a fire. It just burns brighter, and that's what we're doing, and that's what they're asking us. We want you to justify why you changed your formulation with that kind of thing. Well, we're thinking about how we have to do that, but you want to be careful because you get the wrath of Khan with them, even if they're out of line in what they're asking, if you don't comply with what they want. So it's a tough situation in making products now because we're now being really over-regulated. And you talk about this administration reducing regulations. You bet they haven't, but there's a lot of areas that needs to be done because if you don't, they want to control you from the cradle to the grave, and all you are is a commodity. This is government. All you are is a commodity, just like you are with most businesses you work in. You're just, you might as well be a number in that, because they're utilizing you to get what they want, and they don't really necessarily, they give you the minimum, and that's one of the unfortunate things about this business, is you work hard, just hard enough to keep from getting fired, and they pay you just enough to keep you from quitting, but you've sold your future. So anyway, let's flip now to products a little bit, since we talked about the age pill. The FDA is kind of astounded that we would have improved the formulation 4 times, and they want to know why. Well, we'll sort of tell them why, but we're not going to go on and make those kinds of claims that the studies show for the ingredients, because they're absolutely sensational, and it would send them into a tizzy to understand, oh, this is going in this product to do all of these things. That's illegal. It should be a prescription drug. Where it's a natural ingredient. They're God-given. We're allowed to use them. So those are things we're doing for you. You don't know that kind of thing is happening, but it is. So what we're doing with all of our products, they don't care so much about cosmetics, but they do care about what you say. If you say it removes a wrinkle, it's a drug. If you say it makes skin look less wrinkled, it's cosmetic, and the ingredient can be the same. So you just have to, it's the vernacular what you do. So anyway, we've improved the age pill 4 times. Well, we're going to improve it again, and probably again. But I don't know, towards the end of this year, we'll probably be making another major improvement of something that we found that no one else is doing, that's quite extraordinary, because science is pursuing and finding these things. They're just not coming to the marketplace, but that's the gift that we have here at Sisel, is we research the research to discover those products that are so sensational that are not being used by other companies because of they're exotic, they're difficult to get, or they're very expensive to do. And so there's a world of knowledge that's out there to be retrieved, but then you got to get it developed. You got to bring it to the marketplace. You got to put it in. And you know what? We're like the Greyhound bus. Leave the drive-in to us. We know how to do this. And we're unlike other companies that just want to, a dietary supplement is a product they sell. With us, a dietary supplement is a spectacular formulation to assist you in whatever situation that you're trying to address with it. Now, it's support, and the key, you'll see it in a lot of things we say, it supports. Yeah, you bet your bippy it supports. It supports is one thing. You can try and support something that's collapsing, put a board underneath it, but it may collapse under the weight of it, or you can jack it up and repair it. I mean, that's of course, repair is a word we can't use with it, even though the ingredients in many of these products show that it does repair, but when you put them in a formula, you can't say that. So you have to allude to it. So I'm just trying to give you a little education on how these claims are and what's involved there. But you can do one thing. You can trust the science, and you can trust Sisel, because we use it to the max with what we're doing. So great new things are being discovered. And in the age pill, there's some things that work synergistically they've just found out to do it. And here's something to tell so you understand it. With the age pill, it's for glycation. That's like plaque on your teeth, and it plaques on the interior of stem cells. And that plaque coats surfaces so they can't really function, because they can't be contacted, because everything going on there is chemical interactions within the cell. And if it's plaqued over, then a lot of those don't happen. It doesn't completely, but it does as you get older. And so functionality goes down. And then the stem cell is a little factory. It takes in nutrients and it produces new cells, replacement cells, not stem cells. But when it does that, all those nutrients that went in is like building a house. You build a house, man, there's a pile of garbage outside that has to be hauled off. Well, within a stem cell, after those metabolic processes, there's a lot of cellular sludge. And most of it gets drained off, but some types of molecules in particular that are fat soluble get a little too big to get out the portal that removes them from the cell, and so they start gumming up and gluing up, and more particles start to attach to them, and pretty soon the cellular garbage becomes sludgy in a water system within which the cells are in the cytoplasm have a water system. And so now they start to plug it up with this greasy gob and full of toxins, and even the cells themselves start to shrink and wrinkle, and the nucleus does too, because of the lack of getting the nutrients through to what it needs, and the lack of biological processes to do, because it's plaqued up with glycation and it's filled up with cellular garbage, which is lipofuscin. So now you bring NAD in, or something that can build NAD, as a precursor to it, and yeah, you stimulate the biological activity. Yeah, you're going to do some, you do it better, yes, but the younger the cells, the better it is, and all your stem cells you're born with them, and you don't really create new. There's kind of a way to do that, but I won't go into that so much. But with that, you come in and you have NAD stimulating cells to a certain degree. But how about if you remove the glycation? The cell actually has the process going on to get rid of that plaque. It also has the process to go on to break down that sludge, the lipofuscin, the cellular garbage that's in it. It's just that the cell's getting older, it's getting plugged up, it's getting plaqued up, and there's a lot of oxidation damage because you're taking in oxygen to create energy, like the same thing with running a gas engine for a car. So all of that happens, and you start wearing out, plaquing up, sludging up, and that's your stem cells. So if you come and you assist the body so that it can, we can't make a positive claim on it. We say it assists the body for glycation, assists the body in its fight against lipofuscin, see? It is a precursor to assist the stem cell to increase NAD. We can't say that it does it, but you can say it assists it, it supports it. See, so that's why we have this different ways of saying these things, where we'd like to be more direct, and you would too, but you can't because of it. So anyway, if you remove those factors, glycation, lipofuscin, now how effective do you think NAD would be with a precursor? I mean, it'd be immensely effective compared to reasonably effective, depending on the deterioration of the cell. Well, that's what we're about. So what's the whole picture? Increase NAD, that's what's being done with a few companies that are out doing it, and they're doing it low level because they're mostly grabbing on to the science and over-exacerbating it with what the product is supposed to do, but really won't to the degree of what they put in. We come in here and we say, where's NAD supposed to be? Well, let's design our precursors so that we can get to 1,000. That, in theory, it'll support it on that raise of that. Let's remove that glycation. Let's remove that lipofuscin. What's going to happen to that stem cell? And then you look at things and you say, well, there's a lot of oxidative damage in there, and the biggest damage is to the mitochondria, and that's a little structure, organella they call it, within the stem cell itself, and it's what creates energy. And it has its own DNA. It doesn't have 23 chromosomes, it has 12. But those are designed to create huge amounts of energy. But they wear out because they're exploding oxygen with glucose, just like you explode oxygen with gasoline. It's the same thing. And so the byproducts are oxidizing, and in a car it goes out the tailpipe, and in the cells it has to go out through the cell, and it does a lot of damage on the way out. So what happens with mitochondrial damage? Well, then energy goes down, repair goes down, all those things, because think of it this way, it's rusting away. So if you can come in and you can put factors, because the mitochondria is trying to repair itself. And in fact, is the mitochondria, strangely enough, which is great, has the ability to produce more new mitochondria if certain factors are there to support the process of doing it. So you think that's gone by the wayside? You think it, with us, hardly. Has it gone by the wayside with other companies? They don't even consider it. They don't give a hang. I do, because what am I looking for? I'm looking for the ultimate result in the product for you with this thing. Yes, I want you to have a good product. You can advertise and you can recruit people and make lots of sales. But the proof of the pudding, you've heard that saying, the proof's in the pudding. That's not the case. The proof of the pudding, saying goes, the proof of the pudding is in the eating. So it's not what they say is in a formula. It's what's in it that matters, and that's what we follow, and that's what we do. So you have this enormously powerful, synergistic effect of it. And look at the array of ingredients that is in our formula. And take a look at, if you can find the one, there's a couple out there. Look what few they have in theirs. Nothing to address glycation, nothing to address lipofuscin that I've ever seen. And so here we are, we come with that, and we do a lot more. Then we're looking at mitochondrial health and all of that, and there's factors in it for that. And to produce NAD, there's most of them are using one pathway. We have 4 pathways. Why? 4 ways produces more, in our opinion, or supports producing more, and that's what we do. So these things are very complicated. You don't need to know all of these things. I'm simply, for today, I'm telling you so that you can have confidence in what you're using and what you're selling, if you believe me. And that's the whole thing, because so many people overhype and their products underperform that we become jaded with it. But we are the light shining in the darkness. We are the one that is doing it to the best that it can be done. And once you get into the company, and if you will devote yourself diligently to helping people to become successful by creating change and facilitating their success by your leadership, that duplicates and goes on, and you have immense amounts of power. So everything is in a state of flux with us as far as formulations go. With it, we got a powerful compensation plan, and it's working extremely well, paying out a lot. And we're starting to get some really big checks. Now, I like big checks because that means there's a lot of really good checks underneath it, which are still people that are becoming prosperous, some becoming wealthy, some are becoming real wealthy now with it, especially in Japan. But here in the United States, we got some that are becoming wealthy, in my opinion, and they've only just begun, because this is based on the masses. So they'll have people down there that are making 100, 200 a month, 500, 1,000. Then you get up to where it's 5,000, 10,000, 20,000. Pretty soon 20,000 a month isn't much for what a lot of people are doing in the company, and we're on that road right now to doing it. So while these other companies are going down and collapsing, we are just like DW said. They grew by 300,000, up to 1 million this year. See, that's a 30% growth in the year's only half done. So what company would love to have 30% growth over even 5 years? That would be pretty sensational with it. And here we've done it in 6 months with this kind of thing. So, of course, every organization is different, but it all depends on leadership. Until you have a leader, many will follow, but few will lead. So for the few that lead, to whatever degree, if you're not a leader, you can become a leader by simply doing the things that other people will tell you so you can be successful with it. So you need to practice your profession, develop your skills. I mean, if somebody handed you a scalpel and said, go in and cut out this guy's gallbladder, and here's a book you can read about it as you go along, do it. I mean, what kind of deal is that? But that's how a lot of people get in this network marketing. But don't become an intellectual egghead. Don't become a little Tom. You don't have to know everything about everything. In fact, is what you really have to know is basics in selling the benefits, not the features. I'm talking to you about a lot of the features, but some of that you can use it to a certain degree, but don't get caught up into it. And then you can learn how to sell properly. It's scary to some people. It's because you haven't done it. If you walked out on a basketball court and you had to shoot 3-pointers and you never played basketball, that'd be a little unnerving, wouldn't it? So you need to put these things in perspective so that you can do them more effectively. So now with my 10 minutes that's left, I'm making some major changes. Some of you saw them on Facebook. What changes are we making? Well, a lot. We're going to bring out a product here. It'll be out within a few months now. I hardly daresn't tell you about it because it is so incredibly powerful, and it fits within what we're doing. After all, and it has to do with supporting life extension, supporting growing younger, supporting much more energy, supporting more of your regenerative processes. Those are the statements we can make because it supports, but it does it with massive power and an incredible new way of approaching it that fits with ours, to where you think, my God, where did this come? We didn't even understand it, and now here it is, and nobody else has it, and it's sensational beyond belief. Well, those coming to Mower Mountain are going to learn all about it, because those people get one-on-one teaching where we can show them that, so that when it's released, they will have a real good grasp of it. But they won't need a plane to fly home after they hear it, because they're going to be powering on their own wings, because this is pretty sensational with it. And it fits right with the age pill and with brain vitality. And the other thing I was going to tell you is the latest study comes out, shows how important resveratrol is with mitochondrial function. Now, we've known that for a long time, but it's also very supportive with NAD, much more so than what they thought. And so here, are we going to have to add it to it? No, we've already got Eternity, which is it in a very large dose, a concentrated dose, so that you can get the benefits from it. Many of you using Eternity in the Triangle of Life, which I would always use that, all of them. But now we find that resveratrol now has a symbiotic effect of great importance to NAD, to mitochondrial support functions with it. So that's a big piece of information why you should be on that. Because after all, let's say it was a car, and you're driving it, and your pedal would only go halfway down, and that was the limit of what your restriction was, and suddenly the restriction is taken away, and you can put it all the way down. Now you can really build speed, and that's the way to look at this thing, doing it. Now, I'm also making changes I'm always going to be making changes. And also, I'm always going to be working. I'm not going to retire. I don't need the money. I'm not doing it for the money. I'm doing it for you, for the joy that I get out of helping other people to make their lives better, to make you happier, healthier, more prosperous, or wealthy. That's my mission, and I'm going to do it the right way. I'm going to do it with God-given principles that are honest and decent and right and dynamic. Now, most people won't grasp that because they're not looking for that, but enough of the population, 25% or so of those, will, and will to a degree, and the degree that they pick up on and that they do it is according to what you do as a leader to recruit them, to create change and facilitate their success. That's what you do. And if you don't know how to do all those things, we do. Your upline does. So that's why they're getting paid to help you. Don't be afraid to go up 5 or 10, 20 levels with your upline. I talked to a big leader in Japan who's making a huge amount of money. And I spoke to him because one of his leaders came when I was over down and says, Mr. So-and-so told me to do this, and that's why I've done it, and that's why I'm here. Now, Japanese, they're ideal network marketers because they follow what the leaders tell them to do, and they work as a team. And so I asked him about this leader. I said, well, he's in your upline. How far is he from you? She said, oh, he's about 40 levels. 40 levels above her, and he was reading through his downline, came down to help her. It's time you do this. This is how you do it. And then she was becoming the leader with it. So you need to work with your people. The fortune in this business is in the follow-up. So while we have great products like the age pill and others, and I mean, I can name them. These are products that other companies would have built $1 billion business on. Many of our individual formulations, collectively, we have them all. So what we need now, where our biggest need, is leadership who can grasp this and can recruit, and get their rear in gear right now, because the opportunity is here. And if they don't, someone else will eat your cake, because it's there and it can be eaten. And we're serving it up for those that will take a bite out of it. But the final thing that we're going to do, because the results are so dramatic, if you saw on Facebook, I posted some things about skincare. A couple of them yesterday, on how now I have to say the appearance, but to recontour the appearance of your face in an oval shape. And I showed you this was just an ingredient that we're going to use. One ingredient, after 56 days, it was pretty stunning. But then you also use the same ingredient on eyes. And you have the befores and afters in both, and it's quite stunning. That is but one ingredient that we're going to add to some of our products that we're bringing out. But I have others that are, if you really understood the biochemistry of it, you'd be shocked that the discovery has been made, and you'd be shocked that no one is using it. And so you ought to be thrilled that we found it, and we're going to use it. And you're going to see these skincare products. Now, transfusion is miraculous, but you know what? We're going to make it go supernova with what we're doing. Rapid repair is sensational. We're going to make it glorious beyond belief. I don't even know how to tell you about it right with what we're doing with it. And those are the beginning. How about a hair conditioner? If you rubbed in a hair conditioner and you let it sit on your scalp for a while you were showering or whatever you're doing, give it 5 minutes or something like that, and then you rinse it out, and your hair started to darken. From a hair conditioner? Yes. Is that feasible? Yes. Are we going to do it? Yes, we are. That's what we're putting out with this thing. And then, how about something your skin is getting older, thinner, you can see through it, it's transparent. How about taking that appearance and taking it back to where it looks like it was young again? Now, age pill is doing lots of that with people. Boy, it's had an effect on mine too. But now we're going to have some accelerated factors. And here's one that it doesn't shock you out of your gourd. You don't have one. But there's an ingredient that when your skin ages, it's a reaction to damage, whether it be lower metabolic activity. But since the skin is the organ that is exposed to the environment, there's lots of oxidative damage, sunlight, things because skin breathes not from your lungs, but from the outside. So you get a lot of damage in it. And when it gets damaged to a point of where the skin is really getting bad, it has the ability to contract in to protect itself. When that happens, that's where you get creping in the skin. That's where you get wrinkles and some sagging skin and things like that. And so now what they've recently found out is there is a switch, an age switch, that when the damage happens, that age switch is flipped on, and the skin contracts and ages and shows the effect because it's trying to protect itself for as long as it could. So your wrinkling is a self-protection factor. Well, we don't want that, do we? But how about if we could do something with everything within the skin to support it, and then we could support, if we found a biological process, we found some precursors to it that would support turning off the age switch. How's that for a thought? Now, I can't say we're going to do that, but I will tell you what, it can be done. But what we're going to do is support the skin so and I have to find the ways to say this kind of thing so that the aging that usually occurs, you can support the skin in its fight to improve its appearance. And cosmetics are so vague. That's what we're doing. But that's what we're talking about. And we're going to have a special product out that you can line wrinkles and bags under the eyes and crepe skin and lines and all of that. And watch what will happen. In fact, I'm seriously toying, and I'm a minute over now from it. I'm seriously toying with the thought, because of all the ingredients we in, and I'm not even beginning to talk about these, but this is skincare, which and the devotion that women have to taking care of their skin is really a huge market in and of itself. In a world of mediocrity, we're going to be spectacularly sensational with all the things we have, which I'm not even fully addressing with you because they are so complex, and we've been working on it for quite a while to get this to the point. I found sensational discovery after discoveries, and now I'm putting them together with existing things that we have and even replacing some because we found better ways of even doing it that didn't exist before. And now we're going to bring out a skincare product line that will just wow the world if you will do it. And I'm toying with the fact of, with some of these products, this is no kidding, with the ingredients, they say you can see a visible change in 14 days. How would that be? A visible change in your skin in 14 days? Well, I know we can do that. It's like our skincare products on steroids for a term. We don't use steroids, of course. I'm just a term. But it's like ours are on steroids to give you that sensational effect that you never thought was possible, wished it could happen, but you've used this big product line for 50 years and you look like you're 50 years older than when you started. But now what we're going to do is you have something internal like the H pill and these other factors working, and Super Omega Plus, which is great for skin too, and those things. So a lot of that. I mean, because the body's very complex. But now we're going to come to the skin, and we're not going to just pick at this or that or the other. We're going to come in and super nuke those systems with ingredients that they will respond to greatly improve the appearance of your skin in so many ways, to where my goal would be to make it so that it appeared to be indistinguishable of where it may have been when you're 20 or 30 years old. That's quite a goal, but I'll bet you we can come darn close to that now with the technology that's here to improve the appearance. So anyway, I kind of waffled around in some different areas to tell you what's going on and how things work, but here you sit. You're the captain of your ship. Do you want to put it in a direction and put the pedal down and go? If you don't, that's okay. You can drift wherever the current takes you. But if you do, how much power you put down? We have got unlimited power with virtually, I can't say absolutely, but I mean in virtual unlimited power in comparison to others that are around. There's nobody like us in the world. I doubt there will ever be. And we will fight the fight. We will do what's right. We will not stop. We are unstoppable. And the only thing that can stop you is you. You are the key factor, and it's all being done for you. You are not a commodity to us. You are a person of great worth, and we want to do what business should be doing for you to a much better degree, because it can be done. And that is my mission. It's not money. It's not success. It is helping you to do everything within my power to make your life as incredibly good as it can be in proportion to the efforts you're willing to put out in helping others to obtain what they want. That's where it goes to. So anyway, that's my hour and 5 minutes worth. I'll turn the time back over to you, DW, and thanks for everyone's on. Get your rear end gear, recruit. If you don't, you're going to sit there and you're going to watch this big parade go right past you, and you can see it going in the difference, say, oh, I was there. Why didn't I do it? Well, you are here, so do it now. Change your life. You have to make change. The only thing constant in life is change. And so if you're where you're at and you're not happy where you're at, change. Do the things that are necessary to do it. They're not that difficult. They just take effort and direction and attitude. So if it's to be, it's up to me. That's the saying. So get your rear end gear, get going, and let's make this the year of years for all of us. Back to you, DW.